Boys, today I'm going to be showing you a bit of a strange opening as black, the Duras Gambit. And it starts with the moves e4, and then as black you play f5. Pretty much the vast majority of the time they're going to take this pawn. Now you will play knight to f6, d4, and then d5. And here is where white can start to play a plethora of different moves. The main moves that you will face are knight f3, knight c3, and bishop to d3. Let's start out with knight to c3. Now, if knight to c3 is played, obviously you want to take the pawn. Now, most of the time, you will probably get knight to f3. And now your game plan is simple. Play e6. And here, if your opponent plays bishop to d3, I would just play bishop to d6. And if they take, and you might end up with a position that looks like this, with the check, boom, you trade, and, you know, you're in a pretty good position. Now they might put the bishop out to f4, trying to attack this pawn, but, I mean, really, you don't even need to defend this pawn. Instead, play bishop to b4, because if they do take this pawn, you can just castle, and, like, their king is very unsafe. And if they castle, you will take, and then play rook to c8. Just attacking the bishop, and you'll end up winning this pawn. And if it tries going out to a5, you can play b6, and then a5, and then you'll still be winning the pawn, and you're attacking both the bishop and this pawn at the same time. Anyway, back in this position, if they play something less confrontational, like bishop to e3, or even bishop to f4, then you can continue your development with bishop to d6. If they take, and what's going to happen is that, let's say they play bishop out to e2 to castle, you're going to castle and have this open f-file to your advantage. And now it's actually slightly better for black. And really, back in this position, the same thing is probably going to happen if they play knight to f3, because now you will take. And if knight to c3 happens, then this is the same position as before, and you can just do what I said. But most commonly, they will actually play bishop to d3, and now you will play e6. And once again, if they take, you get the same position that I was talking about before. Except it is slightly better for white because they can castle a little sooner, and then after knight c6 they have slight advantage. But this can quickly dwindle away after the natural looking bishop to f4, because once again you can just play bishop to d6, and if they take, you're in a very nice position. And you can even castle any way you want. Same here if they play something like knight to c3. Now, you can even play knight e4, quickly challenging the center. And if they take, and attack their knight, and you're in a pretty great position. And once again, after the knight moves, bishop comes out. And let's say, even white plays rook to e1. This is already a very bad position for white after castles, as the f-file is open and you can immediately use it. Not to mention, this pawn is hanging. However, with the most challenging approach here is if white plays bishop here. Here, I want you to immediately strike with c5, and if they take e5, after en passant, boom, boom, castle, and you have a pretty big attack. It's quite hard for white to maintain their advantage here. An example of what can happen is knight to c3, takes, bishop to f4, castle, knight to f3, and now boom, check, and you're gonna win the bishop back. Even if they defend with something like c3, you can just play e6, takes, and it may look bad, but the same thing is gonna happen before. You're gonna castle, get the open rook, and be having a huge attack. And last but not least, if they play knight to f3, you can play c4, attacking their bishop. It can't stay on the same diagonal, and then you win the pawn. And here you can even get kind of a massive center after something like this castles, and then boom, e5. Well, actually, not e5 right there. But play something like queen c7 first, and then e5. And that was the Duras Gambit explained in just 4 minutes and 57 seconds. Make sure to subscribe. Bye!